All right, so we are live now. All right, so for this webinar, I'm going to go over essentially of how to create more interactive and authentic by finding free content that's out there on the internet. And this is going to be some of your traditional sources, but it's going to be a lot of non-traditional things that are going to grab your students' attention, as well as including in primary sources that are really important for students, really important for learning, but they're tough to add in. So I'm going to go ahead and start up. First, we're going to go over and just going to give a demo of the tools that we're going to be using, how we're going to be finding content. And if you have any questions at any point, go ahead and ask them with the Q&A tool that is over on the side. Let's see here. Oh, this is not what I wanted to do. All right, and then, yeah, if you have anything that you want that's on the screen, just let me know. Okay, so the first thing is that for this webinar, we're going to be using the tool Docent Edu. So if you've never used Docent Edu before, what does it? Lets you modify existing web pages. This is where it comes in pretty handy of when we're creating some of these, some of our different stuff. So go to docentedu.com, click on sign up and get the browser extension. What's going to happen is that it's going to load in the browser extension. We've got it for Chrome and Firefox, as well as iOS and Android. And our outline for today is, first, what we're going to do is we are going to talk about kind of like one of the, it's that textbook. Oh, I missed it here. But I'm going to start off kind of talking about the ditch book philosophy. So if you've never read the book before, it's called Ditch That Textbook. It's kind of like, it's a great book. Check it out. Right, the whole thing is it's about teaching with less reliance on the textbook, with an emphasis on using technology and creative teaching ideas. And that's what we're going to be working on, is creating things that are going to be much more engaging for our students. It's going to be much more authentic learning experiences. And so to get started, we're going to go over first text, where to find text with different levels. So to start off, I'm going to go to Tween Dream. Now I'm going to have a link to all of these things that I'll share in the comments section later on, and we'll also have in the description of the YouTube recording of this. So our first one that we're going to be talking about tonight is Tween Dream. So this is a free content source put out there by the Smithsonian. It's kind of similar to other ones, like a lot of people are familiar with Newsela. But you can see right off the bat, you can select the different grade levels. So we've got K4, 5, 6, and then all the way up to 9, 12. And they've broken it out a couple of different ways too. You can sign up if you want to. You're not required to. They've got a couple of extra things like assigning stuff out, but we're not going to kind of get into those. We're just going to get into, say, if we're going to use this lesson. And so looking at this text, at this content source, what's great is that they give you different Lexile levels that you can select for that text. And all right, so this one does have some ads. If you have your students use AdBlock Plus, that does cut those out. And so we can select the different ones here, so we can then go to like a 1330 Lexile level. And it's going to change it on. All right, so now we're going to use Docent Edu with it. So this is how it works: is you click on the extension, and there we go. So on here, you can now do a couple of different things, like using any of these different annotation tools that are on the left-hand side. And I'm just going to go over Docent Edu a little bit for this, right? Because our focus is finding free content sources. But the way Docent Edu works is that now you have your toolbar loaded on the left-hand side. You can now click on different things by paragraph. So if I want to add in, I'm going to add in some instructions. So I'm going to start off by clicking on the sticky note. And up here, I want to add instructions. I'm just going to give students the instructions of highlight important ideas as you read through the text. And students have their own toolbar, because they also have to have Docent Edu installed. And check out some of our videos if you're not real familiar with Docent Edu. And so then students are going to be going through, they'll be highlighting, and then I can add in my different questions as we're kind of going through. So I can add in a question here. explain why. Let's create that, and then students are able to answer the questions right there. So that's a very quick overview of what Docent EDU does. So it lets you really utilize these content sources. So Tween Dream is one of my favorite text sources that I discovered this last school year, and I used it a lot with my environmental science class. It's pretty great. All right, so the other one that we're going to go to is called commonlit.org. CommonLit is a pretty new one as well. I'm not familiar with how long they've been around, but they are a nonprofit, and they've been coming up with some, they're essentially funded with grants, and they've formed some great partnerships with publishers that are out there. NPR, Society for, what do they have in here with their, under about, yes, and partners. So it's going to give you an idea of, so they've got partnerships right now with NPR, Society for Science and the Public, Global Awareness, and I think like additional ones that are going along. But so these are copyrighted texts that they don't, that they'll modify, I think, or they just use as is, but they end up then coming up with some great things around that. So I'm going to go click on library again. And what's great is with CommonLit, this has questions that are ready to go, but you can then also select the different Lexile levels, and then you can search by grade, theme, genre, devices, and standards. So if we want to go with themes, let's go with justice, freedom, and equality. And here we go. All right, so this is showing us, so we've got 27 different options here. I'm going to go ahead and select that one. And then here we have the text. And they've got a couple of questions that are listed on the right-hand side. And so it's the same thing. You can use Docent EDU directly in here. And one of the other things I like about CommonLit is that they've got their own little annotations that are built into here. And so you can, so one of the annotations that they have that are in there are pretty great, but then you can also use Docent EDU to add in your own custom annotations that you want your students to have. So let's say here, let's see if we're just going to highlight this morning edition of NPR News, a radio program. Great. And so all I was using there was the annotation tool, the highlighting tool. And so whenever you add in, whenever you highlight something, you have the option also of adding in a note to it. So now students are able to see that. They can see the note that I've added in. So that is CommonLit. Another one that I mentioned before is Newsella. So Newsella is free. It is like a premium service. So you can access the articles for free. You will need to have students sign up because it'll prompt you for, it's kind of annoying, it'll prompt you that you have to sign in. Same thing for your students in order to start viewing some of these articles. But the signing up is free. And then if you want to, and then what their premium is selling data, like reading activity data on the students. So you can kind of track some of that stuff. But what is nice though is that all of the content is free. So I'm going to go ahead and just click on this one here. Right, so as it says over there, sign up for free. Access unlimited articles. And again, we can go ahead and load in Docent EDU. And here they do have some annotation tools that are built in, as well as a quiz and Lexile levels. Docent EDU, I feel like the tools are a little bit more functional. Here's where it requires you then to sign in. But so we're going to go ahead and browse around here because this is the big thing, is being able to look for these different things and selecting the different Lexile levels. And so they've got a variety of different topics in here. Oh, now they've got famous speeches. That's kind of nice. We're getting some primary sources here. That's good. And then over here, then you as the teacher, and I think students also then are able to select which Lexile level that they would like to work with. Now, because right now we're talking about finding texts at different levels, there are two tools that can be useful, but be kind of wary of how it is that you want to use something like this. So Rewordify and textcompactor.com are two tools of where you can take text, paste it in, and it's going to go ahead and then change that. And so let's just go ahead and copy this text, show you how it works. I'm going to paste that in. And so that's not what we wanted. Oh, because we highlighted that text. That's not what we want to do. All right, we're going to copy that, head back over here, paste that in. And then it gives you some options here of Rewordify is a powerful free online software that improves reading, learning, and teaching. So it's going to go through and change a couple of things. And then you can use that text then with students. You could like put into a Google Doc, but it kind of gives you some information about that. So that'd be one of them. And then another one is text compactor. And these are tools of where, because it is the computer is automatically doing this for you, you want to kind of go through and make sure you read through it before you give it to students, so that it did a good job. It's something that your students are going to be able to understand. And then just the whole aspect of, do you want students to actually read one that's modified from the original? There's a lot of things that are very important of students reading text that's at a higher lexile level. And so it's pretty important. So not always selecting a lower lexile level just because they're slower readers. Sometimes they need to struggle with that text. And so you don't always want to go to something like this. So here's another one then so you can drag the slider to enter the number box percentage of the text to keep in the summary. So this is going to get rid of half of it, I guess. How does this work? Oh, there we go. All right. So then I went through and I cut it down. So this would definitely be something of where you'd want to go through, make sure the text was good first. But these are two different tools that you could use when you're looking at getting text, being able to get text that's modified, and these ones will kind of let you modify text that isn't otherwise modified. All right, so the next thing we're going to go to is text sources that have questions that are built in. So these are things that are going to be saving you a lot of time. And so one of the ones we have not gone over yet is Dogo News. So as Dogo News is loading, I'm going to mention two of the ones that we've already gone over, or one of the ones we already went, yeah, two of them, is Common Lit does have questions. So as it's loading, so Common Lit does have multiple choice questions that are added in here. These are designed to be summative assessment questions. So maybe you want to modify them around, but it does come with questions that are in there as well as discussions. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and just copy that text, and I want to add in that that discussion question down here at the bottom. So I'm going to click this add discussion, click on the paragraph, and then I'm going to do Shift Command V to paste without formatting, and then click create. And there it is. So now we've got our discussion. So students can actually now respond back and forth and have that discussion directly in there. So it's really nice that this kind of becomes like a copy and paste thing of where you're now kind of adding some interactivity to it. All right, so Dogo News has loaded. So we're going to head back over to that one. And yeah, we'll head over to this one here. So here, Dogo News is pretty similar. They've got a couple of different things they do have. So this one is a subscription. So there is, I'm not familiar with what point you have to sign up, but they do have quite a bit of content that is free. And as they're going through, they will have then of where students can then select on certain words that they've already identified, and it'll give them the definition. You can do the same thing with Docent EDU. So I'm going to load that extension in. So as we're kind of going through, we'll head down here, and here are where they have these article comprehension questions. And so with Docent EDU, what you can do, this is a great way of, instead of having like a separate worksheet, just simply copy that content. We're going to pop in a new question right there, paste that in, and create. So now students can answer these questions directly there. You can do the same thing of where you take this text, and maybe if you want to add it someplace within the article, you could do that as well. I've found a good spot in there. And then for some of these like critical thinking, different ones, I'm sorry, for this critical thinking one, I think maybe I'll just turn that one into a discussion question. There we go. All right. So now we'd be ready to simply go ahead and assign that to our class. All right. So Dogo News is one of them. Common Lit is one of the ones that comes with questions. Another one is New York Times the Learning Blog. And again, I will have links to all of these listed later on, so you can view those. And let's go down to I use Teach Science, so I'm always a sucker for the science ones. Yeah, let's go with this one. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to select one of our articles here. So this is again, this is the New York Times learning blog. And these are designed of, some of them are very much designed of where it's like students can read them, and other ones are designed for the teacher to read it and then kind of share that back out in a different way with their class. So like they've got a little warm-up activity here. So what is the CRISPR method? And so this would be something of where, in this case, because they've got these questions that are added in there, so they've got a video right here they've actually already embedded, so that's pretty great. But let's say if that one wasn't exactly what I wanted to do, is we could then add in a sticky note and embed our own video right there explaining it. And so for this one, I'm just going to go ahead and add in that question of, right, like what is the CRISPR method? Here we go. So now students can answer it right there. So this is a pretty good source of where these are some really great articles. I've used these with students, but just that they've got a wide range of questions added into the text ready to go for you, as well as some of these things like, so here we've got an activity. Oh, debatable issue, the PDF, perfect. So these are kind of things of where then you maybe want to put in a little note here of, right, something, a little note of stop here, we will. There we go. All right, so we got a little note then to the students like, hey, we're gonna actually do that activity now in person, so stop reading. So that is the New York Times reading blog. Tween Dream is another one. Now, I don't think it's for all of their pages that have questions that have been added in. Here we go. Okay, so they've got the quiz one. I thought they had some other questions someplace else here. Oh, Matt, get it together here. I thought you had this one ready. All right, we'll come back to Tween Dream later on. We'll do a clicking around. But the Tween Dream does have questions ready to go on some of their articles. All right, so the last one that we're going to go over for text has pre-made questions ready for you is Achieve the Core. And this ELA literacy, oh, no, one ELA literacy lessons. I'll have a link to this one. Right. All right, here we go. So our literacy lessons. So these ones are pretty good. So we're going to go with this 1984. Yeah, some Orwell. So looking at this, so they've got then, so this is pretty nice because it'll have something going over like how to do close reading. But I'm going to go ahead and view this file. And this one's going to segue into something that we're going to be doing a little bit here of using Google Docs, which is going to be great. Of that, they've got the text. So here they've got the text that's ready to go, as well as instructions that are kind of going through. And so what we're going to do here is, this is the text that we want to use. But the problem is that it's not accessible online. So what we're going to do is we're going to use Docent EDU, or we're going to use Google Docs then to be able to do this. So I'm going to head over to Google Drive. While Google Drive is loading in, I'm going to go back to here. That they've got a variety of different questions that are in here. Oh, I didn't want to close that. So you can also download this as a PDF or your or as the doc and then load it in again. But so in here, then they've got some questions that are mixed in of asking the students different questions. So you can then embed those questions in. So here we've got another question here of the text passage. So what we're going to do is I'm going to create a new Google Doc. So I copied some of that content that I wanted. And we're going to be using that with our Google Doc. Now make sure you always cite your sources. 2024. And I'm going to paste in that text that we got. And I'm also going to copy the source as well as the date. So I want to make sure I cite this. So source. And it was on July 28th. So now as we're going through, so we want to use this with we want to use Docent Edu with our Google Doc. And so this is whether you're using it with a PDF, because there's a lot of great, especially lesson sites that are out there, especially the English ones, where they have PDFs or Word documents that you can do. Sorry, I didn't want to do that one. But it's not something that you can use on directly. Students can't use directly on the website or on the internet, which is really too bad. So that's where we're going to use Google Drive. So, or Google Docs. And so once you've got your text on Google Docs, what we do is click on Publish to the Web, and then Publish. I'm going to copy that link, open the tab, paste that in, and there we go. So now we've got text on there. And if you've never published Google Doc before, what that basically is doing is it's almost like you're making a web page out of your Google Doc. And now, using Docent Edu, I can go through and I can add in the questions in different spots where I want to. So I can take a look at that text again. And figure out what the questions were, and pop those questions in from the content that they gave us. All right, so that one was from Achieve the Core. All right, so we're gonna go. So now we're gonna switch into primary sources, and there's 3 that we're gonna go for primary sources, and I'll have the links for these. But the first one is going to be Project Gutenberg. So Project Gutenberg offers over 50,000 free ebooks. So you can choose from a pretty wide range of different types of things that are on there. So some of them are going to be novels. Other ones will be primary sources. But it's a pretty wide range of things that they have that's on here, and it's all free. So let's just go ahead, and I'm not quite sure what this one will be. We're just going to go ahead and select one. Well, you kind of get the idea of so when you go on there, you can then select this option of read the book online with HTML, and that's the one you're going to want to go with, then, so you can use it directly with Docent Edu, or you can also directly load some of them into your Google Drive, also then for converting into a Google Doc. All right, so Project Gutenberg is a great source. The Library of Congress. Library of Congress and Archive.gov are 2 pretty amazing sources as well. So they're going to give you quite a bit of content, and this is where you can, let's go ahead and take a look at this one. You could spend weeks just kind of exploring through all the different things that they have that are on there. And you can load in Docent Edu on just about any of these pages and start using that then to turn that into your lesson. So they've got the collection, they've got the different collection items. But it's a pretty amazing source that really it's going to be of, just take some time to take a look at it. Because then the other one is Archive.gov. Oop. Archives.gov. That was. And this is going to be the last primary source that we're going to take a look at. Now, depending upon your subject area, there'll be a lot of different ones. It's like, so if you're in science, there's a lot of, for scientific research, there's a lot of great primary source like journals that are out there. So the National Archives, this is the one that we're looking for. So it's archives.gov. A huge range, but right, so go ahead and start off with the teacher's resources and take a look at the lessons that they have on there. And some of these will have some questions that are mixed in with them. But it's going to be quite a bit of a range. But you've got an idea of what you're going to be, what the topic is that you're looking for, and kind of start going from there. All right, so now we've gone over finding text at different levels, pre-made questions, our primary sources, and now it's time to look at our non-traditional texts. All right, and this idea came from actually from one of my students. She was actually going to be creating a lesson that was going to be a series of docents. This was around Halloween of last year, and it was part of a class called Diverse Perspectives. And she was Native American, and she was getting kind of frustrated with the different costumes people were coming up with and talking about. And so she wanted to do a lesson on why it is that it's offensive to dress up as a Native American for Halloween. And so that's what she ended up doing. And one of the articles, or one of the lessons that she had then, or one of the docents for this whole lesson was a costume. So we're just going to do, now we won't do the one that they had for that one of, we'll do this T-Rex one. We're not going to do the sexy Pocahontas costume that she used for her docent. But it did an amazing job of like really hammering it home, because now now what that student did is then she ended up using that as, like pointing these things out and using the actual text, the real ad for this thing, to then have people apply that information they learned in a previous article that talked about this issue. It was really cool. So this is the kind of thing of where this is a really difficult thing to try and do if you're not using Docent EDU, of how you're going to have students stay focused. So we're going to head over here. We're going to use the annotation tools. So I'm going to add in some things. Now with Docent EDU, it's not going to work the way that you would expect necessarily on every page. It follows web standards. Not every site will. But as you can tell on Amazon.com here, it's working out great. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the instruction on here of look for. And the ways that this is going to be great is if you want to have students then do analysis of products. How is persuasive speech being used? Are there statements that the sellers are using that aren't being supported with evidence, or are they supporting it with evidence? Is it credible? How could you find out more? Those kind of things where you can really kind of dig in. So this would be great for consumer. I think I can't think of the word right now. But you can really kind of get pretty creative of like how you'd want to apply some of these things. You can add in your questions in wherever you want. And then down here where they start having more of the discussion or this deeper description, this is this text down here, you're not able to use Docent EDU on all of these different parts. But so kind of go around, explore on different pages of how you want to have students kind of go through and explore some of these different things. All right, so that's one of them. The other one to go to is, so you can embed YouTube videos into your docents, your lessons with Docent EDU. So you can do that already. Sure, we're going to go with all the conventions that are going on right now. So we will just go ahead. We'll go with this one. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this one. But let's say if this was the text that we wanted to have. No, we will head over to that one. Something with something in the description here. That's not a whole lot. But so you can embed YouTube videos into your docents, but maybe you want to flip that around and instead, no, we want to have Docent EDU be the center. Well, I guess I created a docent out here before. And that's what we're going to do is we're going to go through and actually then create the docent on there. So I apparently had done this before when I was kind of messing around. So you can go on here and then like add in your instructions, any kind of notes you want for students to see on there, and then add in some different questions that are on here of like maybe, I don't know why you'd want them to, but maybe you want students to explore into the comments section. Probably not. But like have students do some like analysis of the video or something that's in the discussions or that's in the description of having students evaluate claims that are in the videos. But it's great because this is on the YouTube page, and this is where it's becoming more authentic. If students are already going to YouTube to watch videos, that's something that they just do on their own. The fact that you're now putting this lesson layer on top of what students are already doing is going to make this thing much more real and kind of get students thinking about things in a different way that they do on a regular basis. All right, so one of the other things is, so our last one that we're going to go over here for non-traditional text, right? Again, there's a wide range of stuff that you can do out there, so get pretty creative with it. But one of the questions we get a lot from people is, what if that website disappears, right? So if we ended up doing this New York Times news article and it happened to disappear. What do I do? And Docent EDU, our philosophy is very much of that all of the information that you as a teacher and that your students will really discover and that they need is for the most part on the internet, but it's just not ready to go. It's not student ready, or it's not lesson ready. It's not crafted the way that you want. And so that's what Docent EDU lets you do. And so it's, no, let's use the internet as is out there. So I'm going to, so we're just going to go with, I don't really know what some of these different ones are. Yeah, we'll just go with this. So what the Wayback Machine does is it archives, right? So it's as of 498 billion pages saved over time. What it does is it takes a screen, like it captures most of the information that's on pages, and it'll actually do that multiple times, and you can look at the changes. So for this one on Bloomberg.com, so this is must have been from their homepage, it captured it 27,843 times, going all the way back from October of 96. So 20 years worth of Bloomberg.com. And what's really cool here, I just got this idea now, right? So we could take, so this is October 1st of 2013. So we can go ahead and actually turn this into our docent. So I'm going to load in the extension. And let's see, I'm going to find a nice spot where I can attach, I want to attach something here. Nope, not what we want. Let's see. All right. Compare this page and let's say if we want students to compare. So we can go all the way back to what did Bloomberg.com look like way back in October of 96. So we're going back. This, so it doesn't have the images, but this is really kind of what it looks like. Oh man, there's no dancing baby gif, so that's good, I guess, on Bloomberg.com. But yeah, so this is pretty interesting. Like, right? So this is more or less kind of what it looks like, and there'll be things of where it's like you end up losing some of these images, or the style sheets that handle the formatting and some of the layout look don't always get saved. And so you'll lose some of that stuff. But this is a really interesting thing of where you could then, because the URL changes, each of these different captures becomes a separate docent. You can kind of then scroll through and you can tell students which ones you want them to go to or have a link to the next one. Right, so now like we can just go ahead and then add in a link. Oh, they still got like a similar thing here. So I'm going to add in some instructions down here of next. Go to what's the most recent one? One of the most recent ones. We're just going to go to like May of 2016. And I'm going to copy that link. And there we go. All right, so now I'm actually going to go to that one. And so, I mean, so right, one of the ways you use Wayback Machine is if you just simply of that web page that you were using for your docent has disappeared, but hey, it's on the Wayback Machine, so you can just head over to that, and that's archive.org. Or if you just search for the internet or the Wayback Machine, you'll find it on Google. So this is one of the ways you can use it. But like as we're kind of going through right now, there's a lot of different ideas that you could do of comparison of things over the course of time. Of right, like, you know, how did like the type of information that's being covered, or just of like how is the internet being used in 1996 based off of pages that we're finding here on archive.org versus today. A lot of interesting things that you can do. What was the science that was being reported, or what were the big discoveries back then? So there's some pretty fun stuff that you can do with this. Of how does it you're going to use Docent EDU with that? All right. So then the last thing that we're going to talk about is just simply, I'm going to stop that right there, is we're going to go back to using Google Docs. So we went through, right? So just make sure that you publish your Google Doc, and of course that you cite your source of where it came from and when, like when you got this content. You can import your PDFs. Google Drive will let you convert PDFs to a doc, and then you can use Docent EDU. Make sure that you are, of course, staying within copyright laws. Educate, like if you're using it for education purposes, there are some things that you can do if you're not using it. So make sure you have a good understanding of where this information is from, what you're going to be using it for, and that's something that you can do. And lastly, if you do kind of like, you want to figure out like, where can I find out more stuff? One of the best sources that I've found for finding more content is Larry Ferlazzo's blog. I'll have a link to it, and that's a couple of these different ones. But he's always posting a lot of different things about different ed tech that's out there, but also a lot about content and how to use content effectively with your students and reading strategies. And lastly, if you're ever looking for more content, head over to our website, docentedu.com, and click on text sources. And here you're going to be able to go through and search through different ones. You can search by what type it is or what age level you're looking for. There's a wide range of ones that we didn't even cover. And so kind of take a look at those and get really creative. Go ahead and post any comments on our YouTube thing of ones that you found, or actually just email us. We'd love to be able to add those onto here. So thank you very much, everybody. This is the end of our webinar of how to create authentic lessons with free content that's out there by getting creative. And that's it.